Welcome to this brief walkthrough of the steps of the early intervention process in Wisconsin's Birth to 3 program. We will be taking a look at each of the following steps as part of the process from referral to transition, including first contact, evaluation, determining eligibility, the IFSP, services, ongoing assessment, and lastly, transition. For each step, we have included some basic information about the process, as well as a brief video interview with early intervention team members represented by a leader or practitioner or with a parent participating in the Birth to 3 program. So let's start at the beginning. An experience in the Birth to 3 program starts with a referral, or the date in which a program is informed of a child under 3 who is in need of screening or evaluation. Because there is sometimes misunderstanding about who can refer and when, it is important to build strong informed referral networks and create awareness within statewide systems and in local communities that a referral can come from anyone, including parents themselves, at any time and by any means available. For early intervention teams, it is important to understand that the referral starts the clock on the 45-day timeline, which represents the number of calendar days from referral to IFSP for eligible children. Once a referral is received, it is critical that county teams have an intentional process of connecting with families. A first contact sets the stage for a potential ongoing relationship and begins the process of learning about the child and family, which is the basis of assessment. Often, initial contact is made through a phone call, a home visit, or both. We will now hear from Katie, a county program coordinator, about some important ways that she connects with a family after a referral has been received.
Referral comes into the Birth to 3 program. You establish a relationship with the family right away with the first phone call. So when I first call a family, I make sure to get their voice heard right away, and I ask if they have concerns for their child. That way it's not just me telling them why the referral came into the program. The relationship is so important when you start it to make sure that they feel comfortable moving forward with you. During that phone call, we discuss their concerns, and I explain the Birth to 3 program and help them to feel comfortable with the next steps of setting up a visit so that we can do a developmental screen. I take detailed notes during that phone call so that when I then go out and meet with the family, we revisit those notes so that I make sure that they were heard during that first phone call and what they said isn't going to be just forgotten. During that first visit, I do a lot of listening to them because, again, the relationship that you form really sets up how it's going to go the rest of the time in the program. So throughout the visit, I have my own questions that I ask, but I make sure that they show me whatever they want to with their own child and have all of their concerns heard with me.
After reviewing the referral information, completing a developmental screening, and/or through gathering information during the initial contacts, a decision is made about proceeding with a comprehensive evaluation. An initial evaluation includes gathering information for all 5 areas of development using multiple means, such as review of medical records, observation in typical settings, caregiver interviews, and use of a formal evaluation tool if determining developmental delay. Children who are referred with a documented developmental delay or diagnosed condition that is likely to result in a delay are eligible for early intervention services. Therefore, a comprehensive evaluation using an eligibility tool is not necessary to determine their eligibility for the Birth to 3 program. Now we will hear from Amanda, an early childhood special educator in the Birth to 3 program, about her approach to the evaluation process.
To gathering information is at intake. Whoever the intake coordinator is, she will contact the doctor's office and try to get all of the medical records. When she goes and does the intake appointment with the family, we talk more about, have there been other therapies? Can we get releases from them? Does your child see an ENT or any other specialist? Can we get a release from them? Does your child go to daycare? Can we get a release for that? So we really try to get as much background information as we can, but they do comprehensive standardized testing, some family assessment interview things that get added on to what the service coordinator initially did. The intake paperwork has a lot of general questions too about bathing, dressing, just all of those routines that a parent may answer yes to something, but then when you pull out more information, you find out that the child might do it a little atypically, or they might not quite have the skill mastered. Due to the 45-day timeline, we don't always have time to go see the child in all of their environments, especially if your county is very large geographically. But we try to make sure that we at least call any caregivers or daycare providers and ask them some questions about how the child is functioning there, because it is really important to find out that how a child is functioning across settings and situations, and not just at home, because a lot of kids act very differently depending on the setting. Kind of a juggling act sometimes to do it when it's most convenient for the family and within the time frame that the family gives us. Sometimes the family only has an hour for us. Sometimes the family can give us a couple hours. And some of these assessments take a long time. So a lot of times we will go out together and do evaluations, and one of us will ask a question and the family answers in a way that's good enough for, good enough for us, but then the other therapist will be like, oh, but tell me more about how they're talking during that routine, or what does that look like? How are they sitting in their chair? So it's really good that we have that multidisciplinary approach, because we get everyone from these different professional backgrounds who are all experts essentially in child development, but we all still look at things kind of within our realm in different ways. And it really helps to get a whole picture of the child.
Early intervention teams then pull together all of the information gathered through records and medical history, observation, interview, assessment, which may include a formal evaluation tool, to determine if a child is eligible based on one of the 3 eligibility categories, including a diagnosed condition likely to lead to delay, a documented developmental delay, or development that is determined atypical based on informed clinical opinion. We will hear from Ashley, a service coordinator in the Birth to 3 program, about her process of leading the team in determining eligibility and sharing results in a meaningful way with families.
Thinking about eligibility piece, I know that when I go into that early intervention meeting with members of the team and the family, that I want everyone to be able to follow along and be on the same page. I want them to be able to follow along with us and go through and make sure all the information that we collected through family assessments, through evaluation, is accurate, and that nothing has changed in the couple weeks probably from in between visits. I want to make sure that as we go through that, families understand where all this information came from and how that it came together to create this standard score idea to determine eligibility. Parents looking at all these numbers and just listening to us talk about standard scores and bell curves and means and averages can be very confusing when you're not used to that. So a family should know why their child was determined eligible, what kind of those scores mean, but most importantly, how are we going to follow up from this? And I want a family to know that regardless of the eligibility determination, we're not going to leave them hanging. We're either going to set up a plan and get things started, or at the very least, we're going to get them resources and strategies and rescreen them in the next 3 to 6 months.
Once a child is determined eligible, the information gathered through all means of assessment is used to create an IFSP, or Individualized Family Service Plan. This is a legal document, much like the IEP, or Individualized Education Plan, developed for school-age children eligible for special education services. We like to say that the IFSP is the baby sibling of the IEP, the difference being the F for families, which is representative of how a plan should be developed in partnership with families and responsive to the priorities, concerns, and interests of the child and family as it relates to the child's development. Ashley will continue her story by telling us how she develops outcomes that are functional and individualized for each child and family.
Number one, our program is meant to support them, and so it really needs to be guided by the family and what things are a priority for them. What parts of their day are going well, what parts aren't going well. Those are all the conversations that hopefully we've had up to this point, and we can pinpoint what really those priorities are for the family. And in order for success to happen in this program, we have to have a great working relationship with parents. And one way to do that is to touch on something that's the most meaningful to them. It's not meant to be what we think they need to work on. We need to be mindful of their individual family culture. Who are the important people in our lives, and what are those important times, so that we can start with those routines first and then build and branch out and help them in other areas.
Although the IFSP establishes the goals and framework for services, it is the ongoing interactions with children and families that is key to enhancing growth and development. Services are provided to support the family members or caregivers' role in their child's development. Use of coaching practices promotes the partnership between providers and families within the context of everyday routines. Essential to the principles of early intervention services is the teaming process, supporting both the family and early intervention team members. Next, we will see a home visit in action as Erin, a physical therapist with the Birth to 3 program, interacts with Amelia and her mom, Haley, at their home.
Thank you. Is it your turn or Mom's turn?
Mom's turn. Mom's turn. Mom.
Just think about when we started this game. She needed you behind her.
Yeah.
Because of the balance. And now she's like, I got this, Mom. I can go over by myself and do it.
Yeah, that's what I've been, it's so weird to think, like, at the beginning, she really wasn't walking, and now I can, like, set her down. And she just goes off on her own.
Look at you. Sit down and get okay, I'm ready. Thank you. That was so fast. Okay, I'm going to throw it really high this time.
Up a bit.
Wow, you kept your balance looking up. Okay, move it to Mama.
Mom, do it to me.
Throw it to you. Okay, ready?
Oh, I can't reach it.
Was it too high?
Yeah, let me reach it.
Okay, up high or down low?
Down low.
Can you kick it?
Kick.
That's gotten a lot easier too.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, thank you.
Isn't that great? After the home visit, we asked Kaylee to talk a little bit about how it has felt to be part of the Birth to 3 program.
So when we first started with the Birth to 3 program, I really didn't know much about how to help Amelia, how to start using her left hand and getting her left arm incorporated along with her left leg, when we really started to notice like it was super tight and she was constantly up on her tiptoes. So it was really nice when Erin was involving all these exercises and like giving me different ideas, like, okay, this will help with this and this will help with that. And it was nice because then I was able to take what she was telling me, do it with Amelia, but then also in turn turn it around and turn it into a game with Amelia, because she can be very difficult about don't touch me. So it was nice because then I was able to use what Erin said for certain stretches and what to do and turn it into something that I know Amelia would like to do.
As children and families are part of services during their time in the Birth to 3 program, it is important to track and measure progress toward outcomes established in the IFSP. It is also critical to have an ongoing way to document development and to plan for intervention from visit to visit. Practitioners do this in many ways, including documenting on home visit summaries, completion of ongoing child assessment tools, and in updates to the IFSP. In the next video, Erin, the PT from the home visit, will talk about ways that she uses ongoing assessment.
So every home visit, I start out with the question, what have you noticed that is new this week? What has changed or different with your child? And then I often lead into some things that I'm noticing as they're playing and going through their daily routine as I'm watching, and help point out things that the parent might not otherwise have noticed. And then on a formal side, we do a regular ongoing assessment tool every 3 or 4 months to make sure that we're covering all areas of development and really ground us in what the child is doing developmentally right now and what that little tiny next step might be, so that we're not forgetting to look at the whole child. I often find that writing IFSP goals for subsequent IFSPs is easier, because across the time that we've had together between plans, the parent has become grounded in our ongoing assessment. They've learned about development and how it should look and what their next steps would be are already in their head when we get to that plan. And it's really my job to just help whatever their goal is to remind them of what their family routines and natural environments are to root that goal and help it not be just discipline specific.
Of course, all good things must come to an end, and services with the Birth of Three program are no exception. Anytime services are ending or there's a change that will affect services, there's thoughtful planning needed. Transition may occur for a number of reasons, such as a family move, successful completion of IFSP outcomes, or when a child turns 3. This always involves planning and a written transition plan. For children turning 3 who are potentially eligible for special education services in the school district, additional planning with the district is required, starting at least 90 days before the child's 3rd birthday in order to promote a seamless and supported transition for children and families. We will now hear from Summer, who shared with us during a home visit about the process of transitioning to school-based services. Her daughter, Willow, has participated in the Birth to 3 program.
Very sad. She's growing up too fast. I think that she, with all the work that you guys done with her, that she is ready to move into going into school. Her interactions with unfamiliar people has definitely gotten better. Her social skills has definitely improved. And I think with her being around more kids and having that playtime will help her improve even more than what she has.
Yeah.
And she seems really excited to go to school, did her 3-day evaluation, and she was as happy as can be. She didn't want to leave school. She wanted to stay. And the people seemed so very genuinely caring and nice and treat her like an individual, just not a number. And definitely the same as mine. I'm really excited for her to start school.
So initially maybe some nerves, but as you got into the process and met everybody, you felt supported and prepared.
Although the steps of the process can feel overwhelming at times, it is always important to keep in mind why we all do this work. It is to give children with delays and disabilities and their families the best start possible. The part you play in the Wisconsin Birth to 3 program is valued and important. A special thank you to the professionals and families who shared their time and thoughts with us for this presentation. And thank you to all of you who have taken time to think about the early intervention process and what it means in practice. Please reach out to the resource team if you have any questions about this video. Take care.